pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There is the Open Meetings Act, it's posted on the wall. First item tonight is a proclamation for Gambling Awareness Month. Whereas the National Council on Problem Gambling and Nebraska Council on Problem Gambling has designated March 2026 as Proclamation Gambling Awareness Month. And whereas problem gambling is a public health issue affecting millions of Americans of all ages, races, and ethnic backgrounds. And whereas problem gambling has a significant societal and economic cost for individuals, families, businesses, and communities. And whereas problem gambling is treatable and treatment is effective in minimizing this harm to both individuals and society as a whole. And whereas numerous individuals, professionals, and organizations have dedicated their efforts to the education of the public about problem gambling and the availability and effectiveness of treatment. And whereas the National Council on Problem Gambling invites all residents of Beatrice, Nebraska to participate in Problem Gambling Awareness Month. Therefore, I, Robert Morgan, Mayor of the City of Beatrice, Nebraska, do hereby proclaim March 2026 as Problem Gambling Awareness Month in the city, and encourages all citizens to support the National Council on Problem Gambling in their efforts to mitigate gambling-related harm nationwide. Witness my hand and official seal of the City of Beatrice this second day of March 2026. Gentlemen, you want to come forward? Do you want to say a few words before we present the plaque?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
A few things.
Yeah,
You want me to sit down here?
yeah,
and
that's
stand?
fine. Right there's fine.
All right. Mike Chandra, Nebraska Council on Problem Gambling. Just want to say thank you to the City of Beatrice for doing this and just your commitment to problem gambling awareness and obviously treatment. Justin does a great job with the problem gamblers that come through the city here and just making sure that the services are available and the resources are available to ensure that they are taken care of in your city.
Yes, well, thank you very much, because yes, you're right. It is a problem that can affect, well, economics a lot.
Absolutely. Social costs are definitely there.
You don't want to say anything?
We appreciate your guys' continued support, so yeah, we enjoy coming here
Every year, yes. Oh, this is fancy. It's even I'll hold you guys. There you go.
All right.
I was going to bet that wasn't that fancy.
But you
Thank you
did.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You guys have a good night.
Take care.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests. Item A, approve agenda as submitted. Item B, receive and place on file all notices pertaining to this meeting. Item C, receive and place on file all materials having any bearing on this meeting. Item D, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on February 17th, 2026, as on file in the City Clerk's office. Item E, approval of Treasurer's report of claims in the amount of $589,160.93. Item F, approval of Boswell report of claims in the amount of $20,289.14. And item G, approval of BPW report of claims in the amount of $1,591,474.29. Item H, approval of manager application for David Staub, license number 122385, in connection with Staub PH Units, LLC, doing business as Pizza Hut of Beatrice, 2400 North 6th Street, Beatrice, Nebraska. And item I, resolution number 7733, executing the agreement with Iowa Western Community College and any and all other documents necessary for the city through its fire department to partner with the Iowa Western Community College to provide clinical and or field educational services for students. Anybody need any clarifications or anything pulled off?
Item I.
Item I, okay.
You just want clarification, or you want to pull it off separately?
I'd like to have a separate vote. I think it deserves it.
Okay, no problem. Mr. McLean.
I move the items listed on the consent agenda with the exception of item I be approved, accepted, and ratified as presented.
Second.
Your vote, please. That passes 8-0.
I move that item I listed on the consent agenda be approved, accepted, and ratified as presented.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Farrell.
Okay, I think it's a great program. We discussed it earlier this week in an agenda meeting, and I think it's a great program, and I wanted to take the opportunity to have Tobias explain it to everybody on the council and the public as well. So I pulled it off, but I want you to explain it.
Fair enough. So Iowa Western Community College has a program for EMS services. As part of that program, what they look to do is partner with communities that have EMS services. So eventually, as their students move along through the program, they then go off to these other to cities or companies that have EMS services, and then we provide them an opportunity to get hands-on training. And so with this agreement, hopefully what it does is provide a pipeline between us and Iowa Western Community College as they have people go into their EMS program, that they start coming to Beatrice as part of their training or curriculum. And then hopefully we get an opportunity to show them what great place Beatrice is to come and work and play. And then we can obviously hopefully have some future employees come down that way. We have similar agreements with other colleges that are out there. So this is not unique to Iowa Western, but believe we have some people that are in Nebraska City who go to Iowa Western who have some interest in coming down here, which has led to this agreement coming through.
Yeah, I just think it's a great opportunity to have people that are looking for employment to have a little time with our department and sell the city. So we'd love to have them here. So thank you so much. That was really all I needed.
I will put two items of interest.
Okay.
Number one, my daughter graduated from that program.
Oh,
So I know that program very, very well. That's a quality one along with all the other ones. Number two, co-ops and internships are one of the great inventions of colleges to get people out in the workforce. And you have an opportunity to, in the lack of a better term, test drive the employee before you hire them. So anyway.
I think that's a great term.
All right, Mr. McLean.
We have a motion.
Oh, we have a motion.
Yep.
Your vote, please. And that passes 8-0. No public hearings tonight, so we'll move on to resolutions. Resolution number 7734, setting a public hearing date for the proposed annexation of a tract of land located on a part of northeast quarter of Section 29, Township 4, North, Range 6, east of the 6th PM, City of Beatrice, Gage County, Nebraska, parcel number 004342100.
I move the resolution number 7734 be passed and adopted.
Second.
If you recall, at your last meeting, we rezoned a parcel of ground that is just west of the industrial park to general industrial at the request of the property owner. Now, since that ground is industrial and it is adjacent to our city limits, we're proposing that we proceed with annexation of that particular parcel there. Tonight's resolution just sets a public hearing in 2 weeks, at which point we'll discuss it further and then move forward if you guys show a desire.
Any discussion needed from the public? Your vote, please. That passes 8-0. Resolution number 7735, requesting a contract extension request for the Nebraska Department of Economic Development, CDBG, Downtown Revitalization Project, 23-DTR-002, from the original deadline date of May 14th, 2026 to May 14th of 2027.
I move the resolution number 7735 be passed and adopted.
Second.
This is our downtown revitalization grant. As it states in the motion, it's supposed to be done by May 14th of this year. However, we have several parties that are not going to make that deadline for a number of reasons, right? By the time we get approval and by the time we go through the process of getting people selected, you burn the 26 construction season, or the 23-24 construction season. So you start to really kind of confine things. In addition, as before, people continue to have problems getting contractors to come in and give bids and get on their schedules to do some of the work that needs to be done. We have 8 projects currently awarded. We have total grant funds of about $400,000, and so what requests is an extra year to get all those projects done wrapped up, finalized. I think as of right now, I think there are 2 projects that have been done and paid out. So we have a number of them that still need to get finalized, which is why we're asking for the extension.
Any discussion needed? Your vote, please. That passes 8-0. Okay, resolution number 7736, executing the Second Amendment to the union contract with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, local number 1536, AFL-CIO, to establish a comp time qualified and a comp time non-qualified bank.
I move the resolution number 7736 be passed and adopted.
Second.
So this all came from the big beautiful bill. So when Congress passed the big beautiful bill, one of the provisions in there was no tax on overtime. Well, no tax on overtime if you meet federal law. We are more generous than federal law, which means we allow our employees to earn overtime at a rate better than what federal law does. In our union contract, we have many guys who use that overtime and put it as comp time instead. Next year, we have to be able to provide those employees with an amount of how much overtime they earned. Well, again, we allow them to earn it better than federal government does, so I can't give them our number because that number is not deductible on their taxes. We have to actually calculate how much they earn under federal law. So we have to run 2 calculations for overtime. In doing this, since the guys then transfer that into comp time, I need 2 separate comp time banks. One that's qualified, which means it meets federal law, and one that's non-qualified, which means it doesn't meet federal law. They still are maxed out at 120 comp time hours. They don't get any more comp time hours than they get today in their contract. They can put them in any bucket they want to, based upon how they earn them. But we have to do this so that in a year from now, Hannah can tell them how much they used and how much they can deduct on their taxes. And it's only good for a couple of years because then the law is set to sunset in 3 years. And we may or may not go back, I don't know.
I'm glad you're doing it.
Any discussion up here or attempt to want to try to discuss on that one? Anybody from the audience? Okay, your vote, please. That passes 8-0. All right, resolution number 7737, executing the agreement between the city and Southeast Nebraska Development District, known as SEND, to retain SEND to administrate the Nebraska Games and Parks Commission National Park Service Land and Water Conservation Fund stateside assistance program for the purpose of constructing new pickleball courts at Chautauqua Park.
I move the resolution number 7737 be passed and adopted.
Second.
So this is the LWCF grant that we have gotten notice that we're going to be awarded. We have not gotten the official grant contract yet. I don't anticipate seeing that until May or June, just based upon when those tend to come out from the Games and Park. The agreement tonight is to hire SEND, Southeast Nebraska Economic Development District, to administer the grant, as you see at the $10,000 number there. They're administering our current LWCF grant, but when we get the actual agreement, then we'll move forward with that one. But this is what we're proposing tonight.
Well, I'm on the board of the Pickleball Association. Dave is one of the players as well. You're a member, right? So currently, the need is we ran out of room. So there are 6 outdoor courts there. The association has north of 120 members. And we have probably another 20 or 30 members that come and play regularly that aren't members of the association. So you're somewhere between 120 and 150 people that play regularly. As soon as it gets about 45 degrees, they're outside. They play in the city auditorium in inclement weather, as all the city employees can attest, because everyone's parked around it. But in the summer, when it's used from very early in the morning up until late at night. They'll play till 10, 11 o'clock. I don't, but they do. So we made an application for this grant to build basically exact replica of what we have, and it's a 50-50 matching grant, and we're going to get the remainder of the dollars from tourism out of the budget. So the courts that are there presently, the association, they were the old tennis courts, and the association did a lot of improvements there. Not that Mark Peathot and the Parks Group didn't do a ton of work and continue to do a ton of work there, but we added seating last year. The Pickleball Association group partnered with the city. It was a good public-private partnership to get the seating portion of it done. And as you can remember, a month or so ago, we had another agreement for the shade structure that's going to go up over that seating, and the Pickleball Association is actually paying for 100% of that. So and the shade structure was about 47. Am I right, David? 47? About 47,000. Seating was about 80, and the pickleball group paid for 10% of that. And we got some private donations. So when it's all said and done, the seating, the shade, that part, the Pickleball Association paid for almost half of it, the seating, the shade structure. So great private-public partnership, and we expect to do something similar when we get this grant money. We have a Site A and a Site B, and neither one of those has been decided yet because we're not going to decide until we get money in hand. But it's a good organization. It's a good sport, other than that it has kind of a funny name. But if you're interested in it, there's a website. You can look at it. Facebook page. You can look at it. Everybody's welcome to join. Joni Bruin, who's the president of the club, she runs several different leagues. She has a mixed league, a men's league, and last summer she had a youth league. So we had grade school kids that were playing. And I played against people that are 15 and 16, and I played with people that are in their 80s. So it is something that everyone can do. So that's it, unless somebody's got a question.
Any questions? Public, your vote, please. That passes 8-0. That ends our resolutions. We'll move on to ordinances. First ordinance is to recodify all the ordinances of the City of Beatrice, Nebraska, adopting and enacting a new code for the city.
I move that said ordinance be given number 26-6, the title thereof be approved, the rules be suspended, and the said ordinance be read by number only 3 times tonight.
Second.
A motion to suspend the rules is not debatable, so your vote, please. That passes 8-0. Ordinance number 26-6 by the number the first time, 26-6 the second, and 26-6 the third and final time.
I move that ordinance number 26-6 be passed and approved.
Second.
All right, so let's first start by talking about what is a recodification. So basically, recodification is a review, a reorganization, updating or reformatting and removing
Hold it up.
out of your current city code book. So over the past 18 months, Taylor and Aaron have carried the water on this project, where they have read every code that the city has in our code book numerous times, gone through them. We hired a private company called Civic Plus who helps us with this. They have a retired attorney that this is what he does. He goes through these different codes for other communities, compares them back to state statute. And so that's what we've been doing. It's essentially like going home and cleaning out your closet, right? If you live in a house long enough, you've got a closet that's full of things, they're not in the right place anymore, need to be thrown out. That's essentially what we did to the code book. So you may ask, well, what changes have you made in there? Nothing substantively, right? That's not what this project is for. Those are things we bring back to this body and you guys vote on one at a time. What we did change in here were we removed anything that had to do with state statute. So if there's already a state statute out there that addresses a topic, we took it out of this book. As an example, how many members are on your CRA? Where does your CRA people have to live? Does your CRA people get paid? Those are all set by state statute. They don't need to also be in your code book. Because what happens is one gets changed and the other one doesn't, and now they don't match, and there's in conflict. Well, state statute wins anyhow. So those are the types of things that we took back out of this book. We also went through and changed some of the wording. Before, it would say that the city administrator and his designee may do X, Y, and Z. We put his or her. We made it gender neutral, right? We made those changes through here. Those are probably the biggest changes that were done in here. We didn't really have to reorganize anything because everything's pretty well in the right spots already in our book, so we didn't need to move those types of things around. Typically, you're to do a recodification of your code book about every 10 to 20 years. The last time it was done is 1987, which is more than 10 or 20 years ago. I don't like to admit that, but it was. So that's the reason. It's 556 pages when we got done. It's what's left in your code book. I don't know what we started with.
I know, I should have looked that up. I don't
I think it was around 700.
So
We only had 6 when I was here.
So again, we're happy to go through it page by page if you want to, but that's what we've been working on. That's what we're doing tonight. That's why you did it. Questions on the recodification?
Thank you for a really tough job. I mean, I was talking to Taylor beforehand, 4 times these guys went through this. This is like a lot of work. Thank you for doing that.
Any discussion up here from the public? All right, your vote, please. And that passes 8-0 for another 10 years. All right, let's see. I gotta figure out where I'm at. Yeah, gonna introduce ordinance number 26-6, ordinance amending sections 2-56, 3-27, 9-67, 13-69, 13-70, 13-71, 13-73, 13-74, 13-78, 13-79, 19-8, 19-13, 20-52, 26-229, and Chapter 27, and repealing sections 2-314 and 13-45 of the Beatrice City Code.
I move that said ordinance be given number 26-7. The title thereof be approved, the rules be suspended, and the said ordinance be read by number only 3 times tonight.
Second.
A motion to suspend the rules is not debatable, so your vote, please. And that passes 8-0. Ordinance number 26-7 by number only the first time, 26-7 the second, and 26-7 the third and final time.
I move that ordinance number 26-7 be passed and approved.
Second.
All right, so when you go through the recodification process, at some point you have to cut off what gets included in this book. And for us, that date was about last July, right? Anything that happened after that does not get included in this book when you adopt it, because new stuff just keeps coming in. Eventually, you just got to stop having it come in. So what we have tonight are basically the new things that you've passed since July that we need to re-adopt so we can merge it into this book, largely so section numbers line up correctly. That's the biggest reason why you need to do this, because so things you've adopted since last July. We talked about camping, we talked about stormwater, we talked about peddlers, right? Those are kind of the biggest things. So going through here, there are not very many of them. A few things that are due. So 2-56, if you can see, we added the term "or acting mayor" as to who can sign the minutes. And we got rid of reference to a journal. We didn't know what the journal was. That's not what we have anymore, so we got rid of that reference. 3-27, it says you can't put a billboard up on a street or an alley. We put the word right-of-way in. It's probably including the term street, but we want to be clear that you can't put a billboard up in the right-of-way either. So we added that term. 9-67 used to refer to Chief Dakey as the chief of the fire department. We always call him the fire chief. So we changed that term so it matched up. And then all those in 13, chapter 13, those are all the peddler ones that we talked about before, where we cleaned up the peddler permits and we cleaned up the application. So we're just simply re-adopting those so they match up number-wise into the new book. You get to chapter 19, and those are both camping. Well, that's the camping one that we talked about. If we remember, now if you park on a stall for too long, you're deemed to be parked illegally, which leads you to a parking ticket, which leads you to being able to be booted, right? That was what we passed here a couple months ago. 9-13, Mark Peathod, the public property director, can publish rules and regulations. We just put the period there and got rid of the next 3 sentences that were just extra language that need to be put in there. So we cleaned that one up a little bit. 20-52, it already said that wastewater money had to be put in a separate account and used for wastewater bills. We had the exact same sentence for electric and for water. don't know why the code was ever written, so it just covered the wastewater, but it should be the same for everybody, so we added that in there. 26-229 used to refer to the Department of, what was it? What was the old?
Environment and Energy.
Well, yeah, and now it's DOE, right? Department of Water, Energy, and Environment. So we updated the term, the right state code that's out there. And then we did chapter 27. That's all the stormwater stuff that we did not a couple months ago. And then we deleted 2 sections in here. One is 2-314, which required the city treasurer to publish an annual public report of all of the receipts, disbursements, warrants, outstanding, balance of, be published every year in the paper. I don't know that's been done since you left, Terry. It hasn't.
You never would have had that in there when I was there. I don't know either.
I haven't.
I can't imagine.
So all the claims are listed
Every-
anyway in the
yep.
minutes.
Right.
so-
All the time.
Our budget's online. I mean, everything's published already. It's just we don't have a formal publication that we do in August.
Wasn't one of the 6 that you had.
So that's been 20 years since that's ever happened. And then the other one was, again, had to do when we did peddlers, that says if a peddler won't leave, there was a separate offense. That's criminal trespassing. So there was no need to have a separate offense for that, because if police, PD get called out, that's what they're writing the ticket for. So that's the other one. So those are what we're cleaning up tonight to make sure it all then flows into the new recodification.
Any questions? And thank you, everybody, for doing all of that. I can tell you that some people are detail-oriented, some people aren't. I'm in the aren't category. So, any from the public? All right, your vote, please. That passes 8-0. All right, now we will move on to ordinance vacating all of lots 9 through 15 of Jamestowne Square, City of Beatrice, Gage County, Nebraska.
I move that said ordinance be given number 26-8. The title thereof be approved, the rules be suspended, and the said ordinance be read by number only 3 times tonight.
Second.
A motion to suspend the rules is not debatable, so your vote, please. That passes 8-0. Ordinance number 26-8 by number only the first time, 26-8 the second time, 26-8 the third and final time.
I move that ordinance number 26-8 be passed and approved.
Second.
All right, so we're out at Christ Community Church. Sometime they figured out that the property owners along Elk Street had encroached upon church's property. Garages, gardens, sheds, whatever. And so the church wanted to clean up their property line. And so what they're doing is they are platting, the church is platting their property and replatting the houses that face Elk Street that would be on the south side of the church's property. And redrawing the property line. I don't know how much they're giving, Terry. Do you know? If they're moving it back 15 feet?
Yeah, I was going to say between 10 and 20 feet, somewhere in there. Yep. It was like 2 years ago they started it, so, yeah.
It's taken a while.
Yep.
So the church is going to give each one of those property owners some additional ground. So tonight, we're vacating where all those houses are, and then you'll come back and replat where all those houses are at, plus the church's property. That is what this replat is for, or the first vacation for, and then the plat.
How did it happen? Do we know?
Just over time, right? People either didn't know where the property line was at, or,
So if property changed hands, nobody got a survey, or,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
just wonder.
The church board honestly just picked the lesser of 2 evils there.
No,
right?
I think I think they're being
just-
extremely
it's just
generous.
give it-
You know, seriously, they're being very kind.
Yep.
And that's great that they're doing that, and this will get cleaned up, because if anybody tries to sell property that has
Yep.
their garage on somebody else's property, that's a problem. That's a lot.
It happens more than you think.
Get a survey when you buy property. That's my best advice.
Sometimes surveys don't help.
You're right.
Any discussion needed from the public? The only thing I would add is I think, we need to give the church a little bit of credit between giving up that property and then the massive cleanups that they've done in a number of places. I know it doesn't quite fit here, but on the other side of the coin, they have really taken a strong interest of helping clean up the city of Beatrice. And so I think I'm just going to take that opportunity to say thank you, because it is out of the kindness of their heart that they're doing both of these. So,
Yep. Thank you, Bob.
you bet.
I'll pass that on.
Please do.
Yep.
Okay, your vote, please. That passes 8-0. Okay, now we go to the ordinance approving Jamestown Square First Edition plat.
I move the said ordinance be given number 26-9. The title thereof be approved, the rules be suspended, and the said ordinance be read by number only 3 times tonight.
Second.
A motion to suspend the rules is not debatable, so your vote, please. And that passes 8-0. Ordinance number 26-9 by number only the first time, 26-9 the second, and 26-9 the third and final time.
I move that ordinance number 26-9 be passed and approved.
Second.
Yeah, this is just what we explained as far as this is the plat coming back. Really, the only things I would add is planning and zoning recommended approval of this earlier tonight. And when the church put together their plat, we had them plat in the other half of the right-of-way on the street that would be on the west side of the property. There was already partly our right-of-way platted. This would be giving us the rest of the right-of-way. The road obviously won't go in, but if anything were to develop on the land there that is adjacent to Lincoln Street, you may need that street as another access into that development.
Any discussion needed from the public? Your vote, please. That passes 8-0. We'll move on to the public forum. The purpose of the public forum is for a presentation of an item by the general public to the city council for consideration at a later date. No discussion or action will be taken by the council at this time. Anybody here for the public forum? Come on up.
Thank you.
Handouts.
Yep.
That'll work.
Larry Wolken, 1921 Irving. My complaint is I went to take a load of limbs, cleaning up from my rental properties, and I'm not for hire, I'm just cleaning up my own properties. And they said since it's for my rental properties, they want $50 for the load. I don't mind paying the $5 because they're all residential properties. I just feel like I'm getting gouged $50 for my trailer load. And I'm just trying to be neighborhood friendly, cleaning up my properties so that I have no neighbors upset. And I just feel like I'm getting penalized for that kind of price. And I'm not for hire. I don't do it. I have enough, just taking enough care of myself. So thank you.
You bet, thank you. Anyone else for the public forum? Okay, we'll move on to discussion and reports. Tonight we have the Gauge Development Coalition update. Caleb Fione, come on up. It's a different name. I have to learn how to say it all over again.
Oh, okay. We got that, but the piece.
Yeah, I'm just not, it's
Can you at least talk about the slide deck and then?
slide deck's on here.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Tobias, great to see you as well. So one of the things that we're working on is getting our house in order. And to do that, I want to also, we're building onto that house. So as we clean things out, kind of like you were doing with your code book, thankfully I don't have to do that. But bless you for doing it. One of the things that we want to add to our arsenal of tools is some data analytics. And so part of that being what are ways that we can tweak or enhance economic development, but also tie that in with tourism. When I was the director of Ashland, I approached a couple colleagues. We were on a subject of data analytics and how our cell phones are pretty much always in our pockets or they're always with us. And that's been a really good way to help gauge what type of engagement you're getting with different events. So it's essentially a glorified geofencing tied to government data, all in real time. So if you would like to scroll through the deck. So It's used for civic, retail, real estate, finance, leisure. All of those categories are very applicable. Part of it being good use for civics, you can then use that for your events, so you know what type of events you're doing, what type of attendance you're getting. That can also be helpful very well in grant reporting. So I've used it a lot for grant reporting in Ashland. From a retail standpoint, I can input the address to a business, and then it gets a geofence around it, and it can spit out a general report. And part of it is it takes the cell phone itself, it removes the personality of, so I don't know it was Tobias going into a flower shop to buy flowers. I just know a phone went into the flower shop to buy flowers. And then it will take that, it runs it through its own algorithm, because the data will not assume that, well, it will not capture 18 and younger for data privacy reasons. But what it does is that that algorithm accounts for that through like the nuclear family is 2.5 kids. And so it goes along the lines of that. So through that process, it will spit out what your visits are for the year. Panel visits are your phones. The visit counts are how many visitors were physically there, and then out of the visitor count, how many physical visits were there. So if you went into that said flower shop and there was 100 visitors, but there was 200 visits, that means at least out of that 100 visitor pool, at least a majority of them went back to reach that 200. So there was multiple visits, and it does variance with that. If you'd like to scroll down, please. And keep going. Just keep going. Keep going. I got ahead of myself with actionable foot traffic. Keep going. Yes, perfect. So helps with kind of a little bit of everywhere. So this data also backdates too. So you could geofence. It's never going to be as good as what the example we had was if you wanted to do like a street traffic count, it's not going to be as good as throwing the wire across the street and doing the actual traffic count that way. But you can take and say, I want a general observation of this street. I want to know what traffic it's seeing between 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. We could pull that exact measurement for the exact day or the exact range, so the data can be plugged in and played with and give you exactly what you're asking, which is really cool. That same type of scenario can happen with your businesses as well. So it'd be easy to say, well, Mike, I noticed your business is open at 8 a.m., but you really are a part of this bigger district that starts seeing a lot more foot traffic at 10 a.m. You might be able to optimize your hours, so it saves you money, and then you're also capturing when the largest footprint is for your general area. This software also includes void analysis, which is the big economic development piece. It will take your general population of a designated district, so the district that we had, so we went to the county meeting today, to their committee meeting, and explained this. And the demo that was used was Indian Creek Mall. So we put a giant geofence around it, has all of the stores that are in there, and it spits out what type of individual is shopping there, and is that individual willing to shop at, say, a Walmart? So if so, it will start to find shops that would kind of match and complement the mall. We did a restaurant one, and so the biggest non-cannibalized restaurant that would work really well in Beatrice through this example was Texas Roadhouse. About 60% of the citizens of Beatrice are willing to drive 30 minutes to go to Texas Roadhouse, which would be a great indicator to then reach out to the company with data in hand, have it backed up and say, let's start a conversation. We think you'd be excellent down here, and here's why. So it helps get our foot in the door from that perspective as well. So besides that, with the marketing and the reports, the grants, so that's one of the big projects that we're focused on. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on where we're at with that. There is, if the city would like to do it, the price tag goes up. So just for Gage Development Coalition, the cost is $19,000 a year, which is pretty fantastic. Considering when I was in Ashland, it was $15,000 for 3,000 people, and I get $19,000 for about 22,000 people covering the whole county. So I think we're in a really good position for value of money. But the difference is if you're anyone under the Gauge development handle, I have unlimited logins. I can just spit those logins out as long as I have a email attached to them. If we wanted to co-op it, we could have, if Tobias wanted his own, there would be under the same program, but then the price tag goes up because it's an additional user outside of the organization using it. We offered that same thing to the county. The county said we'd much rather just call you to get our data, which is kind of what I was hoping they would say. So that's pretty nice. I will obviously run that through you, and we can have a more fruitful conversation through that. But so there is a chance that if the City of Beatrice wants to hop in on this, this would be the time. And then you could always access it and do things independently of the office. So it's just how the cookie wants to crumble there. And then the other big thing we're working on is an app for the whole entire county. I showed Tobias, and he ripped it to shreds. No, I'm kidding. He says no one uses phones anymore. Go back to flip phone. That's what he said. Promise. No, so this app is designed to be a tourism piece, but also in tandem be constituent service. So I think we're going to can we take a quick break to get that up? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. I picked a heck of a day to not wear my glasses. So part of the process, we didn't want the taxpayer meter to start running with going, hey, we're going to develop an app, and then we get the ad hoc committee together, and we're all going, well, it should have this, but no, it should have this. So instead of hitting the taxpayer meter fare to unlimited, we decided let's do a little bit of work ahead of time, get what we think we want, and then be able to have like a starting point from there. So part of it is I just leveraged AI to make an app. So I'm only an app developer as long as AI exists, but past that I am not. So the idea is it ties into to tourism. So it's we have the Good Life tag typed in, but the app itself is called Gauge Connect. And so the big cool part of it is instead of going and saying we're going to advertise every single little small event, the goal would be to have every community, every elected official, the office, the county, everyone push the app as the marketing piece because all of the events will live there inside the app. Obviously, that will take a feat and a couple of years before we're humming on all cylinders to be at that point. And yes, we'll still do event marketing, but it'd be easier if we're all able to target and say, oh, well, you just need to download the app if you want to know what's going on. So this is part of our solution. We said it should have some public functionality. So from a government perspective, you know, if you're not already tied into emergencies, I know they hit us pretty hard, but here's something, just another extra layer, and it can be tied into dispatch. So there's already work-ins for that. Update if you have something happening. And then tourism spotlight, so you'd be able to go in, and then it would show you what time they're open, what it's about, where they're at, and you could do that. Oh gosh, I'm breaking it. Well, I just broke it. Let's try that again. Oh, I really broke it. I don't know where it went. perfect. There it is. And so it will have that functionality there. It will have its own built-in AI called Gauge, and you can ask them anything within the app, and it will be able to spit that out to you. The really cool part is it has a feature that says generate an itinerary for me. So you could say, I want to go see museums. It will spit out an itinerary for you and say, oh, well, maybe you want to start in Wymore today at 10 a.m. because they're doing a breakfast and talking about X. But then you're going to want to be in Beatrice at lunchtime to go down to the museum here, and they're going to be doing this. So it will be able to generate and hopefully get you to stay in the county longer if you're a tourist. So my goal is to get people outside of Gage County to maybe stay here a little longer than they plan to, and then ultimately maybe stay the night and then spend more money in the morning. So that would be the fun part. We have it broken down, and this is where I really like this piece, this is the communities tab. And then that's that Explore AI I was just telling you about. So this is where you'd have the civic option as your communities to get a more detailed piece. So one of the big pieces was I would like to know what the zip code is, because a lot of people don't know what zip codes are off the top of their head. So added feature, doesn't take up space. So, and then the same thing was, it'd be cool to know what the population is. Drive by any sign that has the population. But yes, correct. And so you'd be able to go into the profile, have a little blurb about you, when you're founded, and this is all could be very inaccurate, but then also have your community resources with the phone call so they can just take a one-tap solution on who they need to call. And then your upcoming activities that you're doing between civic and social. So, and those calendars can always be filtered out as well, because I don't necessarily think people outside of Gage County are like, ooh, I want to go to a city council meeting. That is my tourism destination for the night. But they could. So things like that, and then having a county master-wide calendar where everything just lives, and then if you want it, you can then take it and export it, and it goes to your iCalendar, your Google Calendar. So that is one of the big pieces that we're working on. So that way we can start marketing in a more unified manner as a county, but then we can run all of that through. There's different options on how we can skin this cat, but right now, predominantly it's a tourism app, and then the civic piece is just gonna help plug in, hopefully, residents that are already here and that want to do things or be involved. And so I know I get most of my attention grabbed when I get a push pin drop-down menu on my phone. So I figured if that's literally in front of my face, it's gonna be hard for me to say, oh, I didn't know that was happening. So I'm just trying to figure out what are the reasons I usually state I'm not going to something, and then trying to get rid of them, and then I'll figure out new reasons later, but why I can't go to events. But this is one of those. Well, it's on the app. It's published. We want you to be able to be at this, and then able to tie Placer to then do reports and generate reports based on that. But then it has a zip code region, and you can buy that zip code, figure out who's coming to your event and what that volume is, and then we can also then in turn move the app and market the app in those zip codes that maybe are a little lackluster in Gage County love, so that way they can come here and experience our events and our tourism as well. So,
Caleb.
Yes, sir.
So you might have said this and I missed it. So will an individual business be able, if they have something big for their business, be able to go on this themselves, put it on themselves, or do they need to go through?
They will have to go. They will have to go through the coalition. I don't necessarily. We already ran into that problem of what's considered an event, because you could say a yard sale is an event. It is to that person, but maybe not to others.
Because it could be.
Correct. So there could be a myriad of different things, and part of that will be writing what is the policy behind what an event is called, and I'll ask Tobias to write that language for me. Thanks, Tobias.
Anytime.
No, but the idea is making sure that it's all being consolidated and then pushed back out with those filters in play. I don't necessarily want to bog the app down with a ton of yard sales and just things that might, kids' birthday parties. Like, yes, we're a small town, but we have to think of tourism outside of our small town to bring in those types of dollars.
So is that your target outside of town or inside of town?
The target is outside the county lines,
Okay.
but we need it to be functional for the residents and constituents inside the county lines as well. So it's trying to fill and serve a dual role of being civic and tourism at the same time.
Okay, that's fair.
Now, can this be used to put warnings and things out also?
Yes. So back on the front page, it had like an example, severe thunderstorm warning, and then here's the bulletin.
Or like a or like an accident?
You could put that. We were talking about that each town should have its own access to be able to update that. And so if, hey, pothole on X street, but then it's only updating and it's only on the Beatrice piece, or it's only on Adams or Claytonia. So there's a lot of work to still go, but at least we have something to go off of versus going to the app developer and he's just sitting back knowing that the taxpayer is excitedly waiting for their app to be ready. So this way we can at least send it to him, and the cool part, when we get it where we want it to be, we can give him already the code, and then he can start to optimize and go through. Because if we decide this is something we like and we want, great. And then part of app development that I've been reading about is just making it updated and feel like it's being used. One of the quickest things that they suggested was tie your app to the solstices and the equinoxes. So the app changes color based on the summer. So this is your spring when it hits the equinox, and then it hits the solstice, it becomes summer, and then it hits the equinox, it becomes fall, and then it hits the solstice and it becomes winter. We removed the taglines because they were really good until you got to winter, where it says it's dormant here, engage, and that's not really a tourism logo or slogan that we're going to use. So,
Caleb, is that something then that if you put a warning on like that, that is generated by the National Weather Service, and then they remove it as well if it is canceled?
Yes. So the goal is to take as many hands off of it as possible, but also if you need to have other information, government information. The example we use is the courthouse holiday closure. It's going to be closed on this day, just a heads up. So dual role there. We're working on the back end with the login and what it would look like when you're trying to get in and update things, because part of it is GDC does not need to be putting out public bulletins for road closures and emergencies, but we should be posting community events in that regard, and public officials should be the ones making the call and saying, hey, we're putting this on the app. And I don't want to necessarily have to say, or Tobias call and say, we need to put that on the app. Well, if you can do it, just do it. Like,
You wouldn't get anything else done.
I'm sorry?
I said you wouldn't get anything else done if
Correct.
you completely monitor that and
Correct.
operate it administrative-wise.
Correct. So trying to make it and also be friendly to the people who are updating it. Sometimes that stuff can get really bogged down and busy. So, but trying to keep something simple and clean. And this might go through a couple more iterations before it's finally ready. But I want to at least let you guys know what we're working on. And as far as that, we have a tour of the Paddock building tomorrow. Getting some updates on there. They're moving pretty quick, which is great. And then whenever you'd like to take a tour, we'd love to have you. I know tomorrow didn't necessarily pan out, but we can accommodate and get you a tour when you guys would like to come visit. So we're in hard hat mode, which is great.
Caleb, so
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, is this app strictly on your phone, or is this something that you can have a small icon on your laptop or your desktop that you can check throughout the day? What is it?
Great question. So far it's
I asked
predominant.
Mike and he didn't know. So
So predominantly right now it's focused to be an app on like the App Store. So if you have an Android or an Apple, that should be easy. If you have a Mac, that should be easy because the App Store is just there. As far as a desktop widget, we could definitely look into it. The other thought is to figure out how to take the very basic app in its current form and then just adopt it and embed it into our website. So if you absolutely want to have access to it, there is access to it without needing to go and download an app and all that. And then the goal is to make the app free. This app's not to make money. This app is to be a public good. So, but that is a great suggestion though.
I have a question. On the first thing you showed us,
Yes.
which makes me want to leave my phone at home all the time. Or shred it, I'm not sure. So that information could, though, be helpful as we move forward downtown with the huge project we have, right? Would that kind of almost replace, not maybe replace, but help us, rather than a big expensive study on what we need downtown, could that help us with what we're missing?
It very well could. You can do it by, so the first thing when we get the software, the first initial thing we would do is send them in a list of all of the businesses in the county. And I plan to try to get as many as possible. They, on the back end, being the Placer AI staff, will put those into the system. And so what it is it will just geofence them, and then all of a sudden, all of the data that has been collected, and their data goes back to 2019. So you at least have a benchmark of what life was like before COVID, and then what is it like with the picture now. And so you can do individual businesses and get a pretty good general report there. But the cool part beyond that is you can do districts. So if we decide, hey, we're going to designate this as a district, we can do that. Everything within that district, we could spit out a void analysis, and it says, a Buc-ee's would do really well here because the people shopping in this, the clientele that shops here also shop there. And so it will give you a prior and a post as well. So if you're, I'll just use the flower shop one again. If you're the flower shop, you will get to see data on where were people coming from before they got to your flower shop, and then it gives you data on where they're going afterwards.
So can it give you data on what they've done elsewhere? So they went to a flower shop here and then a bookstore.
It won't give us because it's very generalized,
Right.
Because we don't know who did that. It will be very generic of whichever profile you're on, whichever business profile you're looking at. So the flower shop, we don't know that if you had enough statistical significance, it could then say, yes, they're this bookshop, which would then tell you maybe the bookshop and the flower shop should pair and do a marketing push together and complement each other. Most notably, you usually see either your post or your prior is usually a Casey's gas station. Outside of churches, that's about the most Midwest religious place to beat is a Casey's. So that's usually on one of the posts and priors as just a general convenience store. But you can take that data to generally spit out a void analysis report. They also have extra, it's called Placer Extra, and they're little tokens you get monthly. And so if there's a special report you're wanting to see, like retail leakage, we could generate a retail leakage report, which can be very, very helpful, telling you, hey, the patrons or the citizens of Beatrice are absolutely willing to drive 30 minutes to go to a steakhouse in Lincoln.
Right.
And so it depends on the threshold. Most small fast food chains, most people only will drive about 10 to 11 minutes to get to a fast food chain. Otherwise, they're not going to go. So,
But that could also then tell you what you're missing.
correct. It doesn't necessarily say, hey, you're missing these businesses, but it will give you a general idea of
But if someone's driving 30 minutes,
correct.
maybe if they had it within their community.
Correct. I can tell you from just the Indian Creek Mall example, the first one was the Texas Roadhouse, and then the second one was Olive Garden, the most Midwest Italian you can have.
Well, but you also wouldn't necessarily need the Olive Garden. I mean, I realize that's what it's spitting out, but it could just be we need an Italian restaurant.
Correct. So same thing with the steakhouse. You just need a steakhouse that will perform that function. When we were in Ashland, it hurts to say, but we have 2 steakhouses, and people still wanted to go to Texas Roadhouse. So sometimes it's not about the food or the commodity that they're selling. It's about the brand.
The name.
The brand. Yep.
And then the only other thing I would say is just remember that some of us only understood about every 5th word you said.
That's fine.
So, not quite that bad, but just remember that there are still quite a few people that aren't in the app business. They don't
also not
understand
really in the
that.
app
Well,
business,
no, but
yeah.
know that's not something that they're knowledgeable on. And they probably won't be, because they're at an age where they just may not want to learn that.
Why are you looking at me?
I said it about myself, I gotta be honest with you.
However, a couple of things he said are pretty strong highlights. And
Yes,
one,
yes.
it could help you evaluate
Yeah.
Chocolate Lovers Day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because you're gonna see whether that's an event that's worth it or not worth it based on them stealing our data from our phone. And that's not the right term, but that's what I'll say it is.
Well, when we were talking to the county supervisors, some have had the exact same reaction of, I need to figure out how to unsubscribe from this.
Can't.
Well, you're not going to. You live in the digital age, and everything is voluntarily surveilled. So if you want to be really private, don't have access to the internet or maybe the electric grid at all, to be completely off grid. But since that's already being scraped, it's being used for a public good versus just I'm sending you an ad on a toaster that you looked at and now here's 45 new toasters you might need. So it's kind of taking that data and giving it a purpose versus just sitting there. And we could always, if the council would like, I can get a demo set up for like a 15-minute demo. The person I work with his name's Max, and he will do a better job. He's the rep we work with, but we used it a lot in Ashland, and it's one of my favorite tools. There are other softwares. My colleague, you may know him, Trevor Lee, he had Buxton, and that is the same thing. Their county invested in that app last year or the year before, and I think it sat at around 50 grand. They just actually switched over to Placer, which is the app that I didn't even necessarily convince them. I just told them, hey, here's what we're using and here's the price tag they gave us. So, and there are other Nebraska communities and counties that are starting to use Placer AI. So,
And Dana, for new businesses,
Yeah.
you're at least gonna have some type of count of how many people visit. And so when you write your business plan, that will be an invaluable tool as you back into what your financials should look like and how many people I can capture, so I know what my sales are. So you get a good solid business plan, which is the number one thing.
No, I'm not being, seriously not being, I think it could give us a ton of information. And I think as a business, if you're in business, it can give you information you don't have access to.
Sure.
Because it's hard to get that information. It's expensive to get that information. So to perhaps have access to that I think would be a big help.
and that data can be paired. Data is only as good as your
Right.
collection method. So one of the things that we're doing is business retention expansion. The state mandates we do that. It can be a good tool. It's a hit or miss with economic developers, but those are a chance to collect vital information that you're wanting to see. So that is something that will live in our office, and we'll administer those and go talk to our businesses and do those types of visits. But if there's certain questions that the council wants on that, we can obviously do that and then aggregate the data and say, hey, we got an overwhelming response that our sidewalks just suck and they need to be better. So that's a data point we could collect, for example. So there are questions we could tailor from elected officials if there's something you want to know that's in that realm of public infrastructure, public good, business oriented. Are there any barriers keeping you from entering and becoming a business owner? Part of it is I don't know how to do a business plan. We're going to partner with SourceLink Nebraska. They've got a whole business plan suite. They walk you through it, but having the data to say, here's what I'm seeing. I'm going to generate this. This is what our district brings in. This is why I think this would work, and this is what makes me bankable, which makes me get a business, and now I'm paying taxes, and increases the budget. So,
Caleb, I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
Promise, just one more. So you kept using this example of the Texas Roadhouse.
yes.
Okay. So we collectively, the city, the county, Engage for the past thing. We do a pretty good job when somebody shows up here and wants to open a business. Tobias works well with them, lending, all that stuff. You mentioned this Texas Roadhouse. Once you determine, i.e. Texas Roadhouse, that it would work here, do you contact them, ask them to come, or do you just sit and wait to give them the data?
Well, the cool part with the software is it has the business expansion, success manager, whomever that contact for that business is. So it's really nice because their email is attached. So what I can do is send them an email, attach the report, and Texas Red House is a great example because they subscribe to the placer data already. It's not that they necessarily are overlooking Beatrice and saying it's just not going to work down there. They haven't been approached. So if that data is strong enough and it says, oh, there's a 0 chance cannibalization rate for this market, and here's the data showing that we have patrons that will already go there, let's just make it easy on the patrons, and here's how we can do it. And then that's where between reaching out, having a standard cadence of meetings and sitting down with Tobias and say, here's some of the businesses I'm going to reach out to. Any hesitations? Nope. All right, we're going to reach out to them. Oh, I got something back, Tobias. They're interested in a meeting. We need to be there. And then that's how we'll do that.
So in simple terms, you're telling me that you're going after them from now on.
Correct. But instead of just saying, I contacted 6 businesses because I like them and hope they answer the phone, and I showed them pretty pictures during the spring, I can now say, here's the data. The data says that you want to be here.
I like it.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think the app's great. I really do. Can you even ballpark us a time frame at all? And then I have one more question.
Ballpark? I'd say if the ad hoc committee is really diligent, we could at least have some working version before Christmas. I don't necessarily know how long app development takes. I did this in 6 days, but again, I don't know how to make an app, and if I didn't have AI, I probably wouldn't know what I'm doing. So it's really dependent on what our goals and metrics have been set for that app, and then what the build out time will be. So I'd say a very generous year, but it could be way quicker than that. So I could be shooting from the moon.
No worries. Okay, this is more, I don't want to shut this discussion of your app off, but it's just a little bit more broad thing that maybe I missed along the way or whatever. So we've gone from 3 organizations with multiple administrative people to 1 organization and you. Okay, I'm just not questioning, I just would like an answer to what your board has given you guidance on, what should be your areas of concentration.
Candidly, to be determined. The new board does not take effect until the end of March.
Okay.
So part of what we're doing is some holding pattern activities, low-hanging fruit. So the business retention expansion survey, those were always done on pen and paper. Well, the internet exists for a reason. Let's leverage it to our most. So one of the things we did is revamp the BRE, put in the new questions, have it on a survey. So the cool part is I can just send it out to the business owner. They can fill it out, and then we can follow up instead of me just hoping that they're there and say, hey, I need you to take this survey via pen and paper and hope it doesn't get lost in your shuffle on your desk. So some of those low-hanging action item groups that already need to happen are happening. Business retention, expansion, economic development in general is a top priority still and will be. We know we're going to focus on county-wide development as well, so that's a big piece. There's some of the smaller monotonous things like getting our digital infrastructure done, so new emails, getting a new website. So some of those things are going to be tasked first. And then part of it will be what hits us when it hits us.
Yep.
We'll roll with the punches on that. But until the new board comes in, the very first thing I really want the new board to do is create a strategic plan, which is a great blueprint for me and the staff for the next 3 years of what we're trying to achieve. And then that action, we can work within the confines of the strategic plan to start pushing out some.
Might have been premature. I'm sorry. I just didn't know.
No, you're good. It's a great question to ask. We're we're really close. We think we're about within the next 2 to 3 weeks and ready to go.
I just think having you here is extremely valuable to us.
Thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Just to follow up, Terry, the merger group has 3 committees that are meeting right now, finance and events, and try to get some of that put together so when that initially gets handed off, they have somewhat of a framework to work off of.
Cool.
Yeah.
You can discuss, even, I'm sorry.
I'll tell you
no.
what, we could go on all night.
Yeah.
Why don't we give him a break, and we'll have him come back in a couple of months? How's that?
Start writing down questions now.
Because we've already hammered him for about 45 minutes, so I thought,
He's not sweating yet, though.
I was going to say.
let's,
It's too cold in here.
it's exciting, and I really mean that when, maybe to answer Terry's questions a little bit more after your strategic plan is done, I think that would be a great topic to bring here.
Yep, that's the big goal, is we're not gonna be, data brokers and you have to pay to get our premium service. We all have to play in the same sandbox and we're all rowing together. If there's data that helps, we're gonna give it out. We're gonna be public about it. I'm not very big on gatekeeping something that's a public good, and this is gonna be a great public good, so, yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All
Thank you,
right.
council.
Good luck.
Okay, the next regular city council meeting will be March 16th, right here in this administrative room, at 6 p.m. Mr. McLean,
I move the meeting be adjourned at 7:12 PM.
Second.
your vote, please. And that passes 8-0. Thank you very much.